Coming up next on MCN, the McAllen Cable Network, the Development Corporation of McAllen from McAllen City Hall. The Development Corporation appointed by the City Commission is charged with making recommendations on how to use money that's been raised from the half-cent sales tax that was approved by McAllen voters on May the 3rd, 1997. The recommendation is made to the City Commission. They make the final decision. And now, the Development Corporation of McAllen.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is a joint meeting with the Development Corporation of McAllen, Inc. and the McAllen Community Development Advisory Board. Thank you all for joining us in this joint meeting today. We will begin by hearing the presentations from about 8 different agencies, and so this is the beginning. This is the first step in the process that we go through to interview the agencies and to have a recommendation to the City Commission on how we would like to allocate these funds. And so if y'all would like to open up your meeting as well.
Good evening. As Chair of the CDBG, I will be calling our meeting to order as well at 4:02 p.m. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Erica Perez. I am the Chair of the Community Development Committee. Before we begin, I would like to have each community member introduce him or herself, starting from my left.
Alex Lamela.
Abelia Solis.
José Gutiérrez.
As I mentioned, my name is Erica Perez. The purpose of tonight's public hearing is to formally accept into record funding requests for projects or programs to benefit McAllen residents, businesses, and visitors. This committee was appointed to assist in the recommendation of projects undertaken by outside nonprofit agencies. For today's presentation, there are 8 applicants who will present information on their proposed projects. After the conclusion of the applicant's short presentation, the Development Corporation Board of Directors and the Community Development Advisory members will have the opportunity to ask questions. We will begin with the first presenters from Comfort House Services, Inc.
The end of the table there.
Good afternoon, respective commissioners, city manager, and board of directors, and McAllen, City of McAllen staff. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to apply for funding once again this year. My name is David Perez, and I'm here representing the Comfort House. The application that you have set forth in front of you is funding that we are requesting for compensation for our staff of caregivers. Our caregivers are the individuals that provide 24-hour palliative care to all of our residents who are terminally ill, who have a prognosis of 3 months or less. They do so with lots of compassion, lots of love, and also lots of empathy. I always am a big cheerleader for them because I tell them that aside from being caregivers, they're counselors as well, because they do work a lot with the families who are going through the grieving process. We are doing our best to move forward, because we're still dealing with COVID. COVID has hit us a couple of times there at Comfort House. Thankfully, the past 2 times that it has come into play within our residents, we haven't had to close down as we did 3 years ago for 2 weeks. But most recently, we had 5 of our staff members affected by this. So, they all pulled through with positive attitudes, and they continue to do so. We continue to take all precautionary measures when admitting a patient and working with families to ensure that, or we do our best to ensure that we try to keep COVID away from our residents who are already there at the end of life process. Also, we are doing our best as well to move forward regarding the fire that took place at Comfort House on February 7th. Thankfully, and thank God, that none of the residents were affected by this fire that took place at 3:30 in the morning. But our staff of caregivers were on point on, ready to execute, taking our patients out if the fire did spread to the Comfort House. But like I said, thank God, it did not. It just hit the administrative office, in which we lost a lot of our files, our office supplies, and our food pantry was also wiped out. So we're doing our best to move forward, with those challenges. And with that being said, like I said, the funding that is being requested is for compensation for our staff of caregivers. Does anybody have any questions for me?
And it's open to both, Omar?
Yes,
It's open to both?
exactly. Yeah, anybody can ask questions at this time.
Are you adding caregivers, David, or is the same number, or?
At the moment, we're staying at the same. We are looking at expanding. We have met with the Warren Group regarding expansion. So I will be working with the Warren Group and with the state. And once we do get approval to be able to add more rooms, because a waiting list is something that I don't like to see, because once we do have room and we call the patients on the waiting list, some of them have expired. So it kind of, breaks my heart, wondering if they were alone when they passed away or whatnot. And so we are looking at adding on once we do hopefully expand in the very near future.
Thank you.
The request is exactly what was allocated last year. It's you're requesting
Yes,
the
sir.
same amount. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Have your costs stayed around the same? Have they increased?
They've increased some,
Okay.
but through fundraising efforts, looking at,
Making up the difference. Great, that's good to hear. Any other questions?
I don't have your package in front of me, unfortunately, but I think all your numbers are current, as far as I recall.
correct. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You had a very good fundraiser, and your board is very active, and that's what we like to see, so that's great.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
Please, whenever you come up with what you expect for the following year, if you could bring it to us earlier so that we could be prepared for it, because it's a very, very worthy cause. And
Thank you, Mr. Aguirre.
Thank you.
What do you guys raise annually through your fundraising efforts?
We raise approximately about 150 to 175.
2 events, 3 events a year?
2. We are looking at bringing back our 5K again, as well as adding on more. Prior to COVID, we were having 4, but it just slowed a lot of stuff down.
And what is your annual budget?
470, more or less.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
David. Good
respected
job.
members.
All right, up next, Valley Initiative for Development and Advancement.
And I think I need to recluse myself from any type of participation,
We'll make sure we get you an affidavit.
but it's
signed.
very worthy cause.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here this afternoon. My name's Irma Garcia. I am the Program Officer for VIDA, Valley Initiative for Development and Advancement. On behalf of our CEO, Felida Villarreal, she does send her apologies for not being able to be present here this afternoon. She's actually in Austin lobbying for some funding through the ACE funding, which is the Adult Career Education Program. That's one of our top funders, and we're hoping to increase the funding that we've been receiving. So she is over there lobbying for that, but we do thank you for having us here this afternoon. As you all are familiar, VIDA is a nonprofit organization. with a 27-year history of assisting the economically disadvantaged adult population obtain post-secondary credentials in demand occupations. VIDA represents a complete approach model, simultaneously addressing the need for financial assistance and intensive case management to ensure long-term education success in target demand careers. The core of our success is our intensive case management, which is built on trust and communication. Students meet on a weekly basis with their VIDA counselor, and more is needed to ensure they remain focused and committed to their career pathway. This serves as a unique need to our demographic population because it specifically addresses the significant need for academic mentoring and career guidance to assure training, persistence, and timely graduation. Financial assistance combined with our case management services creates accessible higher education and workforce training programs. It is our continued mission to enhance employment opportunities among our economically disadvantaged community, and 100% of our VIDA students are identified as low-income individuals. VIDA is economic development. By partnering with you, we are investing in human capital. We are preparing our adult McAllen residents with skills and education to not only become self-sufficient contributors to our community, but we are also supporting existing employers' needs while promoting the recruitment of new investors into our communities. This adult population is rooted in our community and is less likely inclined to move out. We did an economic impact study back in 2020, and every dollar invested in VIDA's program, there is a return on investment of $14.74 to the communities we serve. That is a great return on investment. The COVID pandemic created many challenges for the organization and also for our students. In the level of the organization, it created an impact regarding outreach and recruitment, but also, exposed challenges on the student level regarding digital divide and computer literacy. As institutions of higher education increasingly transition to virtual learning throughout the pandemic, our students from rural communities and economically disadvantaged backgrounds struggle with obtaining the necessary resources to continue their studies. Limited access to broadband or internet, as well as educational tools such as computers, laptops, headsets, and software included some of the challenges for the necessary resources and tools. By providing them the tools and our counselors maintaining them engaged, we continue to keep all our students focused, committed, and on track for timely graduation. VIDA counselors further facilitated the transition to online learning by meeting with our students virtually via Zoom, Skype, GoToMeetings, and assisting our students with utilizing many of the platforms of the different digital divide. Moreover, in efforts to overcome recruitment and outreach challenges during COVID, VIDA adapted to the circumstances by seeking additional resources and strengthening community partnerships. During the pandemic, VIDA completely redesigned its website and to enhance user experience and provide the accessibility of a fully online student application process. Under this platform, students interested in joining the program had the opportunity to learn about our wraparound support services through informational videos, and we were able to determine their eligibility 100% online. VIDA increased continued communication with local colleges and universities to identify at-risk students who would significantly benefit from intensive case management services and financial assistance to complete their chosen career pathway. As a result of COVID, our student population and staff maintained resilient at a time of distress and the unknown. I am here today respectfully asking that you continue your partnership with VIDA by supporting an investment of $600,000, an increase of $100,000 from our award last year that will serve a minimum of 120 McAllen residents. We are requesting a $100,000 increase due to the unmet demand for our services in McAllen. With $500,000, we are able to serve 100 students, but we even surpassed the benchmark last year, which shows that we have the potential to be serving a lot more economically disadvantaged McAllen residents to complete career training programs for self-sufficiency. We are continuously applying for different proposals, different grants that are out in the community. We submitted a Department of Labor grant a couple of weeks ago for $3 million to serve allied health students, basically in the nursing programs. We also do have applied for foundations. For example, the Metals Foundation, the Troll Foundation. The ACE grant is also a state grant that we have applied for, and which is actually, that's the one that Felida is at right now. Last year, we reported 2.6 million in funding, in which 500,000 came from the DCMI, about 19%. That alone is a clear indicator that our organization is proactively seeking supplemental financial resources and to diversify our funding streams. We do not solely depend on the City of McAllen to fund our program, but we recognize and are grateful for the significant support you all have to continue making our program a success. Thank you, and I'm open for any questions.
Irma, what is your fiscal year?
This one, it starts in October and it's September.
So the current financial or the tax return is in process? Because
Yes,
we had a
ma'am.
20, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why we have a 2020.
Correct, correct.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so I noticed on your application that you served about 534 students, but like 120 of those are from McAllen. So approximately 22%. How does that compare to the funding that we give you in your overall budget? Is it compared to other communities, aside from grants and such, other communities' donations through
Right.
these type of programs?
McAllen is our biggest funder, and because of that, we go to all the cities and ask for funding, and according to the amount that they fund VIDA, that's how we allocate the funding to the students.
Because, a question, all of the funds that you receive from the McAllen Development Corporation are for McAllen citizens?
Yes, sir, yes, sir. They have to turn in a utility bill that states McAllen on there.
So last year, the amount awarded was 500,000. And how many students were you able to serve last year?
The 500,000 was for this fiscal year,
Well, I mean,
21,
yeah, for this
22.
year.
So right now, we're at a benchmark, we're at 84, and the benchmark is to serve 100. So we're shy 20-some to meet the benchmark. We're going to surpass the benchmark.
So if you surpass the 500,000, do you have funds within the organization to take on additional students, or do you just have them wait until you have sufficient funding for them, or how do you do it?
No, sir. We break the funding. If, for example, if we exhaust the McAllen funding, then we have other, like the foundations that we have that, for example, we have the Metals Foundation that is for Latina females. So if there's a McAllen female resident, then we use that funding. No student is put on a waiting list. We try to figure out other funding for them available.
Great, that's good to hear.
The 90,000 administrative costs, what is the percentage that represents?
If I can't answer the accounting, I'll get that answer for you. I will.
I believe the application said 15%.
Admin is 15%, that for sure I
Admin is
know.
15.
Yes.
15 of the amount that you requested.
Yes, that for
correct?
sure I know, 15%.
That's on the worksheet.
I did notice a little change, and I don't, this is in-house type of thing, I guess. There was a change from executive director, the title executive director, to president CEO. Was there a change in the job responsibilities? Because there was a significant raise also, and that's part of the funding.
Right. As far as I know, on the change of the title of our CEO, Executive Director to CEO, is to be in uniform with our sister organizations, the title.
From what I was able to tell, there was from last year to this year. I looked at both applications.
I couldn't hear your comment. What was the last comment?
That I looked at last year's application compared to this one, the budget worksheets, and it appeared there was a significant raise. Fortunately, the administrative percentage is the same, so there's not really a big issue there. But I was just curious about the role of the person for that significant amount of a raise from last year to this year.
Their duties had changed or been added.
Right.
Additional responsibilities.
For the application, it was an additional $12,000 for this coming year to that position on our application.
Percentage-wise?
No, $12,000 addition. But overall, 15%
It's the
was
same.
about what was last year, 15% is about this year, so it's still in line. Something had to have changed somewhere to reduce or to maintain it, so.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
South Texas College up next.
Good afternoon, Advisory Board, City Commissioners. We're here to represent South Texas College. My name is Leonel Garcia. I'm the Director for the Institute for Advanced Manufacturing. And to my right, I have Dr. Carlos Margo, Dean of Industry Training and Economic Development. The Office of Industry Training and Economic Development at South Texas College is requesting funding to continue its training programs for incumbent workers in McAllen for the new contract starting in October 2023. The proposal aims to revolutionize the incumbent workforce training landscape in McAllen by providing customized training to at least 650 incumbent workers employed by McAllen companies within various industries. Industry Training and Economic Development is committed to advancing workforce and economic development in the Rio Grande Valley by customizing courses to meet the unique needs of clients. In the past 4 years, ITED has served over 2,800 incumbent workers who were funded by the Development Corporation of McAllen, Inc., and has worked with over 30 employers to develop tailored programs that meet their unique needs. The proposed training program will cover a wide range of topics and lead to industry-recognized certifications, which are considered of great value in the regional labor market. The training will be delivered in a variety of modalities, including face-to-face, online, or hybrid formats. To meet the specific needs of employers and incumbent workers, the training program will also integrate the latest state-of-the-art equipment into our curriculum. Investing in incumbent worker training is crucial for the growth and success of the city of McAllen. The proposed training program by ITED seeks to provide customized training to at least 650 incumbent workers, helping them gain new and upgraded skills. This will not only benefit the employees by potentially increasing their wages or getting them any promotions, but it will also benefit the employers and the community as a whole by keeping them competitive in their industries. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought about significant changes in the training landscape as it opened up new opportunities for online training. This shift in training methods forced ITED and many others to quickly convert a significant portion of their course catalog to online formats. While the pandemic has subsided and in many areas and industries, the trend towards online training has continued to rise. This proposed grant will enable ITED to further upgrade and expand its online inventory and stay at the forefront of the latest training methods. In terms of budget, ITED is requesting $500,000 based on the current need and the trends of new and prospective industrial employers moving to McAllen. This funding will enable ITED to deliver quality training to incumbent workers in new and upgraded skills, ultimately leading to a more skilled and competitive workforce that benefits everyone involved. Overall, ITED's proposal seeks to provide innovative and effective training programs that enable individuals to advance in their careers and empowers employers to stay competitive in their industries. It is an essential investment for the growth and success for the city of McAllen. Any questions?
So the 650 workers, was that an increase over last year, or was that a decrease?
Last year's numbers we proposed, our goal was to train 500 students. I think we had a budget of 260,000 that was awarded to us. We ended up serving 625 students, so it was a 125% increase from the previous contract that ended in September. This new year, with this new proposal from what we're asking, is we can reach 650, but based on our trend from previous contracts in the past, we tend to always surpass that number, so we can definitely be able to serve more people.
What other cities fund your programs other than McAllen?
Right now, we have the city of, the Economic Development Corporation of West Wickham, provides funding that is similar in nature to the Development Corporation Fund. It's to train employees, but in a greater variety of industries, which started off as, in 2 years ago when we first started receiving the funding, was targeting industrial incumbent workers. Now it's kind of integrating retail employees as well. And at this point.
So only Westlaco other than us?
That's correct.
Of those that are trained, how many of them get jobs? Do they all finish the training
They're
with a job,
100%.
or?
They're already working.
They're already
These
working with
incumbent
you.
workers. These are employees or what we call new hires. And I want to emphasize that this fund is important because it really helps us work with our partners at McAllen Economic Development, because they're looking at prospects, they're recruiting companies. When they move into this area to McAllen, it really helps us help them get started with some training that they would otherwise not be able to afford. It helps them with their relocation costs to offset those costs. So it's not pre-hire agreements or training, it's incumbent worker training. So they must be working in order to receive this training.
I'm new to the board, so bear with me. So South Texas College, a little unique compared to the other applicants. South Texas College is a taxing entity, right? And they also charge tuition to go to school there. What's your budget, and why does the EDC pay in addition to the funds that you're already collecting as a property taxing entity and as a tuition-based?
Because we at our department, the industrial training, economic development is the non-credit side of the college, which, like most other colleges in the state, have their own separate restricted budget. We don't fall under the normal budget that STC associate degree programs fall. In other words, we have to generate our own revenue in order to remain solvent. We run like a small business, essentially. We look for grants. I know like this one and others are very competitive at the state level as well. But without these grants, our department would likely cease to exist. So these not only help us provide training to individuals, but it helps us build capacity and help us remain operational and functional as a department. So we don't receive the general taxpayer dollars that the other, I don't want to say the other side of STC, but the main college academic side of South Texas College. So we are the non-credit workforce training side. And to me, I prefer that. Our budget stays restricted, meaning if we have some cost savings at the end of the year, then we get to keep that. We get to build our own capacity, buy more equipment, develop more curriculum. We have used a lot of that to transfer a lot of our courses to an online format, and that's what we're able to do. Otherwise, like many other departments that are for credit at the college, if there's any cost savings, that goes right back into the STC general pool. We don't have access to that pool, so either we have to generate our own revenue to survive, essentially.
Thank you for that. I would have never thought that you didn't have access to the tax base that STCC has. So what is your annual budget?
Our department operates at about $1.2 million.
1.2 million, of which you're asking McAllen for 500,000.
Correct. And we do pay actually a administrative fee to STC, and that's to help support infrastructure, the use of the building, et cetera. So a lot of the revenue that we generate as far as tuition, we do pay STC like a tax, I call it, but technically called admin.
Do you have other fundraisers, or do you just rely on municipal support through the EDCs, through Westlaco and McAllen?
Our primary source of funding is the Texas Workforce Commission. We have, of course, McAllen Funds, Development Corporation. Other, Westlaco provides some, but the majority of our funding comes from Workforce Commission. Also, same as this one, competitive grants that we have to apply for and receive.
Thank you.
Excuse me, of those students that benefit from this program, what percentage would you say are McAllen residents?
The 100% work in McAllen. Percentage-wise, as far as those that live in McAllen, I don't know, but I can find out. It varies.
It could vary from where they live, but I guess the main purpose as far as who we are serving is we are serving those companies who are within the city of McAllen. Not only does the student benefit, but really it's the need of the employer that's coming to us requesting the training for their production needs. So at the end, we're serving the employer that's based in the city.
And most of those employers are in
They're
McAllen.
all from McAllen.
Thank you.
Do the employers contribute to the curriculum?
Employers help us develop much of the curriculum, correct. We do hire subject matter experts. If we do get some curriculum funding from any grant, we do hire individuals from the company. If it's not, we do have committees. We have volunteers also who help us with the curriculum, provide oversight, give us feedback. It's a good partnership that we've had, been establishing over the years. I think we have a good core group of employers who have been our partners for many years and who, at no cost, help us develop a lot of the curriculum. And a lot of these courses, they evolve. And as a department separate from the academic department, divisions of the college, we're a lot more nimble. We're able to modify our courses according to their need a lot more rapidly than an associate degree program would have to do. Sometimes it could take 2 or 3 years. But we can modify curriculum as needed. We can bounce it off of some of our industry partners, experts out in the field, and they do contribute a lot of knowledge and a lot of times equipment as well, supplies.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
We keep track of, these students are part of the general STC database. They are entered just like a student. They're a college student, essentially. So they are eligible to receive all support services that the college provides. Even though we are a separate department, they receive any and all services as well. A lot of these are career placement services. Some of them are advising, counseling, et cetera. But we also have project training specialists on our staff that make sure that they're attending class, that make sure that they are completing the courses, because that affects our contractual obligations to grantors, such as the Development Corporation. We want to make sure that they're completing. So it's not just attendance, it's not just registration, it's completers, because most of our programs result in an actual certification. And they have to attend class in order to receive the certification. Most of these courses have exams at the end. American Welding Society, you have to take the test to get the certification. FANUC Robotics, same thing. So they're not attending class, they just, well, 1, won't complete, 2, won't pass the certification exam. And to us, that's a black eye, because we want 100% of our students to complete, finish. And we have staff that ensures that. And if they're not attending, a lot of times it's not the individual's fault. It's the employer that pulls them out a lot of times. So a lot of times we're dealing with the employers, the supervisors, the HR managers, and it's at no fault to the student, him or herself. But, I mean, it is what it is. We got to deal with 2 different groups. It's the students and the employers as well. It's high. I don't know if we included it in the,
While they're looking at that, it's a very unique partnership. I mean, every year you'll hear me try to push everybody's number down, right? But that's just the way I am. Let me just finish my thought. So, this is gonna help you. So their programs really are made for us. they're made for MEDC, for the city of McAllen, for employers in McAllen, and they custom make their training for those companies. And so it's really not a student, it's somebody that's already working that needs the special training from South Texas College, and that's why they were created. That's why he says, if we don't fund them, they go away. But it's a very necessary component of what we do for McAllen Industries.
Thank you, and the number of completion rate is 95%.
Very good.
And we do appreciate support, and yes, we do generate our own revenue. Some of these employers are actually starting to pay us for some continual recertifications, such as forklift, safety. They pay those on their own. We reserve these funds, and we know they're limited to those innovative courses and trainings that are going to help upgrade the skills of the employees, help them earn a higher wage. So, thank you for your support and continued support through the years.
Dr. Marco, I just have one technical question. So I know that years ago, we had asked you to give us a breakdown or a breakout recap, and you did, and I know we appreciate it. But if you look at that breakdown, I was just kind of trying to see under the revenues and expenses, where does our grant fund fall into that number on revenues? I just don't know where it's at. I just was wondering if you could tell.
It's embedded in our overall, yeah, I don't know if it's identified, but that is our overall revenue and expense report that we receive monthly. If you look at the budget that we included in the proposal, that budget is embedded in that overall budget.
Yeah, you show state appropriation, tuition, net of PEG, fees, admin cost, other revenues. So I was just wondering where the grant fell into that recap.
Unfortunately, that budget, the way our grant office produces it, does not designate which grant fund paid for that tuition that is stated. But we can research that. That's not something that.
I mean, it's at 1.2, and, you know, with expenditures at 1.2. So it's in there, I think. It's just maybe break it out.
We can break it out for you.
We can break it down for you.
Yeah.
That's not a
I
problem.
just didn't see where it was.
We've done
Okay.
it in the past.
Okay.
So we can request it.
It's at the bottom in the recap where you did a highlighted section. That was it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, McAllen Economic Development Corporation.
Good evening, Commissioners, members of the Advisory Committee, Roy, City Commissioner. Thank you for the opportunity to make a presentation for the MEDC upcoming budget for budget year 23-24. And here with me is Dr. Pablo Tagle. Dr. Tagle is my Executive Vice President, or the Board Vice Chair. He will be my chairman for next fiscal year. So we wanted him to be here with us on the presentation. Today, first I wanted to talk a little bit about the COVID. From our standpoint, COVID never was really that big of a factor. We continue to operate continuously throughout the entire period. It did impact many of the travels for companies that come in to evaluate our area as a place to locate. Travel was restricted and even has been restricted internationally, which a large percentage of our companies are coming from international. They're either Asia, South America, or Europe. And so because of many of the travel restrictions, they were not able to travel to the United States. As a matter of fact, China just lifted last week their COVID restrictions. So now travel will once again be able to, visas will be issued to China. We This year, we are looking for, next year, we are looking for the total MEDC budget that we will be working with is $1,554,081.54. This is an increase of about $150,000 over this year, and I will explain what that increase involves later in my presentation. And the amount that we're requesting from the Development Corp is $1,100,000, which is an increase of $150,000. The remaining $454,081.54 of the budget will be a grant from the McAllen Foreign Trade Zone. And then this grant, when you combine with the in-kind contributions that we provide the city, will be another $252,000, which equals 45% of our total budget will be generated through the McAllen Foreign Trade Zone. So it's a 45%, 55% balance on the budget. Virtually all the requests that we are looking at involve specific projects that we're working with the city on, that involve, in many cases, specific companies that we are working with. It's also then will be involved in the implementation of our new strategic plan that we just finished last year. And the amounts that we're looking at, or the $150,000 request for increase, is for a new position for Director of Workforce Development. This is an additional responsibilities to an existing position, which is business retention expansion. This is a person who goes into existing companies and is meeting with them on a regular basis to see what problems they may be having, what they need assistance with, and then they talk to us about training requirements that they need, which then we work with both STC, the universities that are here, both UTRGV and A&M, and then we are now going down into high schools in the dual enrollment program. Because as we all know, or you all are aware, labor availability is a big issue. And so the companies have recognized that because of the skill sets that we're seeing now companies are bringing in, they really need to start building that pipeline of talent for their companies as they come in to the area. And the first thing they talk to us about is availability of labor and the skills of the labor that we have. We are seeing many of the companies that we're working with now are companies that we have never seen anything like it as far as technology. One of the things, and that's one of the things that COVID did do from a localized example, is many of our companies, if you remember when in the middle of COVID, we were all talking about 6-foot separation. Well, when you're talking about a manufacturing operation that may have assembly lines, it's very difficult to get the 6-foot separation. So what happened is, in order to continue to produce, many of those companies actually started implementing or putting in place robots or cobots. And cobots are robots that have sensors on them that will sense when they're getting too close to people and will actually move away. And so they're smart robots. They're also using artificial intelligence. And so as those, all of a sudden, because of COVID, we saw many of these companies that went from very little automation or robotics to putting in literally, 10s, 20s, or 30s, that are up to 100 robots in their operations. And that changes the skill set from an operator to now a technician, which results in higher wages, higher skill requirements. And one of the things that, I think they've left, but one of the things that because of our working together with STC that they have been able to do is they anticipated that and have probably, my opinion, one of the best automation and robotics and artificial intelligence programs in the state of Texas for a community college. And that has been a lifesaver for us with these companies because they need those skills, and STC's been able to provide them. So that's one of the issues, and joining the two responsibilities together, that's about $20,000 of the amount that we're looking for the increase. The additional, then we're looking at additional funding for UT-RGV Project Econometrics Model. One of the things that the commission has requested from us for many years, and I think it's an excellent expectation from us, is that we provide econometrics modeling of every company that we bring in to see what the impact, the expected economic impact will be for that. We get the UT-RGV to do those econometrics modeling for us, and we pay them then for that model. And we're looking at an increase in the amount that would go towards that econometrics modeling. In addition, many of our companies are looking at pretty complex operations now where we are also having to do economic impact studies for the state of Texas in order to be eligible for incentives for our companies as well. Then we are also looking at the majority of the remainder of the money that we are looking at would be for advanced technology and manufacturing partnerships with the universities and STC. These are programs, for example, one of the programs that we're working with UT-RGV on is the putting in place grant funding to build an innovation and research and development center for advanced manufacturing. And that's one of the projects that we are working on now. And that's about $60,000 of that amount would be for that grant request that we're looking at. Last year, our performance, we committed 11 new companies for 2,277 jobs, 1,146,000 square feet of space was absorbed, and $176 million of capital investment was brought in by those companies that came in. So far this year, we have 5 commitments for 220 jobs on the U.S. side, 299,000 square feet, and $30 million of capital investment. So things are looking up as far as what is happening in the community. One of the big things that we have is we're in need of buildings, but that's something that we are not involved with right now, other than trying to convince the development community to build us some industrial buildings. And with that, do you have anything to say? Oh, yes, yeah, we're also then working with the state on incentive efforts, and so we have a project that we are working at the state level now, and we have hired a lobbyist to work with us on one of the major incentives that the state of Texas had to attract companies went away on December 31st of 2022, and we're in the process of working in Austin to get the replacement for that. And one company is hinging upon our ability to get that incentive back in place. So,
For the update, questions?
How many employees does MEDC have, and how many employees do the trade zone?
The MEDC has 9 employees, and that's actually less than what we have had in the past. We had 10, but we are now down at 9. And in the foreign trade zone, we have about 20, 6, counting some new hires that are, still haven't been brought on as far as on the company payroll. They're temporary workers.
Since the foreign trade zone, as you said, funds are on 45% of what is needed to run MDC, and then 55 from the city. What is the annual revenues from the foreign trade zone? I mean, from the foreign trade zone?
It's about $4 million.
$4 million? That's the revenues from it. And they net out?
About anywhere from, depends on the year and the occupancy in our buildings and things, but somewhere between 600,000 and 900,000. It can be as high as $1 million. Right now, we're 100% full, so it's.
So the reason why it would, the 500 and some odd, or 400 and some odd $1,000 difference has to come out of that revenues, net revenues. So it's been pretty consistent above the $500,000
Yeah.
mark.
Now, in addition to that, we have a fairly high operating expense in running the foreign trade zone.
Yeah.
As well as we are focused on the future growth. And part of that growth is really working on a plan. We just purchased some land in conjunction with the city of McAllen. And we will be doing the the planning and the infrastructure development for that property, so.
So Keith, on your last, on this current year, you're projecting 20 to 30 companies, and you said you're at 5 commitments?
Yeah.
So you're tracking to probably meet the 20,
Yes.
25?
Yes.
Same goal for the next funding period?
We set the goal. We have not been able to hit it the last few years, a lot of it because of COVID, other issues. But we have that goal that we shoot for, and I get our management team sets that goal, and then that's what we are shooting for.
So not having your package again in front of me, wasn't able to download it. Like, I know the past year, we looked at very carefully at the travel budget.
Yes.
So I don't know, is that back in there, and how much are you looking for out of this funding cycle?
No increase in travel budget, because we're really, matter of fact, we had a carryover, or we're anticipating a carryover. That's included in this budget.
The 60,000 that you noted? Was it 60?
No, the 60,000 was for a program that we're working on grant funding, getting grant funding.
Okay, no, it just said a rollover from,
From this year.
That's
we
what I was
anticipate.
asking.
Yes, the 60,000 carryover. Most of that's travel, yes, that's correct.
okay,
I'm sorry.
thank you.
Incentives, it's like financial incentives to get the companies to come to McAllen? Is that what you're saying?
Excuse me?
You mentioned incentives, that, those are the incentives that you offer to the businesses?
Yes, yeah. The way that works is that we work with the company. We determine what we think the company is the value of the company is to the city. Then what we do is we will put together the company gives us a letter of intent telling exactly how many people they're going to hire, what the expected investment will be, what they will be doing, the wages that they intend to pay for their employees. And that comes to me, and then I put a cover letter on it and send it to the city manager. Then he puts it on the city commission agenda in executive session, because they want to keep it quiet, the company does. And then I make a presentation, and then the city commission determines what type of incentive to provide the company. That's when we provide the econometrics model. We get UTRGV to take the letter of intent that they give us, and then they run an econometrics model on it saying this is what the value of this company is to to the community and what it will generate as far as taxes, tax revenue, sales, and both direct and indirect benefit of the company.